it's going to be a very difficult task for me, sitting with two workspace giants, one from Colombo, Sri Lanka, and one is all across India and globally. The way I look at workspace, if you will see, I think it's the space where we spend more than 70% of our active time, and it plays a very important role for all of us. So just to start with, and we are changing a little bit of the construct of this discussion, and that's the request from eminent panelists. If you have any questions in between, please raise your hand, and we will take these questions in between as well. So to start with, maybe Thulci, I will start with you. How you see, and what are the key elements of productive workspace? Because that's what we always talk about, a workspace, how it can be more productive in nature. And if you can also talk about, we had a discussion regarding how you have set up in Colombo. So if you can share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks, Bhaskar. Good afternoon. Yes, the question is actually some of the earlier speakers this morning spoke about how do you attract talent and retain talent. There is a huge shortage of talent, especially in the tech space. Where I come from, Colombo, there is an exodus of talent seeking better opportunity overseas. So what we have done is that we have tried to create a very collaborative, cohesive ecosystem, providing futuristic hardware, a smart city, augmenting that proposition with the required policy framework to attract and retain talent. So we are really creating a city within a city, an integrated city in Colombo, one of the transformational projects for the Sri Lankan government. As you know, the country went through a very challenging situation in the last 2 to 3 years. India certainly came to our rescue in the last minute. And the idea here is that this is a finance and a tech city. And we want to make sure, because the global capital of GCCs is in India. How do we now complement that proposition by providing a value proposition for employees? Most of your employees are here to see how do you attract and retain talent. So in this city, it's an integrated city with within a 1 kilometer radius, you have a beach, massive recreational activities. On top of that, if you're a tech company in India, you do not have to incorporate a new company to do business out of Colombo. You can utilize your existing company, you can mobilize your staff, so that gives you a more flexibility for staff mobility, and you can pay them in INR or USD. So we are creating that physical element and augmenting that proposition with the software policy requirement that is required.
Fantastic. It's a good learning, because when I was speaking to you, I also realized what are the different avenues in Colombo and the way you are setting it up. Shantanu, same question for you on the key elements of productive workspace. How you see the occupiers, what are their expectations from Brookfield Properties, and how you are evolving on this?
Sure. I think what Thulci mentioned is about talent retention and talent attraction. And the reason for that is, if you look at the cost stack of any GCCs or tech company, talent is the biggest cost stack. So whatever savings you make there is the direct bottom line. And the biggest drain on that cost stack is attrition. So that's the context that we are coming from. Secondly, I think the second context is workplace is not restricted to the four walls of what we call in the lease agreements as demised premises. It is moved far beyond that. Actually, the workplace is today home as well. So, organizations have to think about workplace in a much broader aspect than they have been doing so previously. Secondly, I think the scale of the organizations are very different from what the scale of the organizations were there previously, right? Indian corporate sector, which was consuming a lot of real estate, commercial real estate, used to be the giants like TCS, Wipro, HCLs, and Accentures, Capgeminis, and so on and so forth, who are very large, right? And in being large, they became not just the tech giants, they became transport giants, they became food giants, they became real estate giants, they became giants in everything, right? I think that paradigm is changing today, right? And that's where institutional development comes into the play. No longer does any company want to spend money on these ancillary by themselves because they can never get that scale that somebody like a Brookfield Properties who has like 50 to 60 million square feet of office spaces across India, and in every city has 7 to 10 million square feet of office spaces can provide. And that is what we are building, bringing to the table. So today, I think it's a lot more about amenitization, right? What is the amenities that are being provided in the campus? Because amenities inside the physical walls of the office can only be that much limited, right? So that's one element of it. Second element is how you're solving for transport, right? I think transport is a very, very big and a contentious issue. And if you come from somewhere like a Bangalore, it's the biggest issue, right? So we as developers or asset owners today are thinking about transportation in a much bigger manner than we were earlier, right? Which includes providing transportation solution, thinking about the last mile connectivity, and also the comfort of that connectivity. So all of this is clearly there. The third thing is, GCCs have to come and set up shop in India. The very first activity, apart from the registrations and all of that, is about attracting talent. How do you get talent? And then you have to go for a recruitment drive. You have to go for trainings and all of that, right? Is the property today providing all of those facilities? So are there training centers? Are there, those kind of things where companies don't have to invest in making them, but just kind of, space on hire kind of, basis, which is very efficient. That can be provided if you're in a large campus, and you have that as one part of the amenity. Finally, I think in the growth of a GCC, it starts with a small country office coming and setting up in India. They realize what the lay of the land is. Then they start hiring a few key resources, grow to say 100 people unit. Then in very few months they realize that this is the activity I may want to kind of deep dive on, scale it up to 500. They get success in that. Then they see, okay, now I think I can get this process also in India, add another 1,000 seats. That's the growth, right? So how do you align yourself with that growth is also very important. And that's where flexible workplace providing, comes into play. So we own co-works as well, right? And about 5 to 10% of the space that is there in our campuses has been attributed to co-works. So whether you need 1 seat or whether you need 1,000 seats, whether you need it on a pure warm shell basis or whether you need fully serviced, managed, because you don't want to take the headache of managing it, because that's non-core when you're coming into India and setting up shop. I think that is extremely important. So all of this put together is what workplace today will start looking like, and that's where I think we as partners can come into the play.
And fantastically put up, and that gives me the clue for my next question. And as we talk about the biggest asset for our industry are people. So Thulci, if you can talk about maybe 2 or 3 factors that greatly enhance employee experience. Because when we talk about productivity, it's also very much interlinked with the employee experience. A no-brainer which I can think of as everyone talks about the cafeteria and the food quality in their office. But other than that, from the technology or any other standpoint, 2 or 3 factors which you can think of how it can help employee experience.
Yes. See, the question is, as an employer now, what is the proposition you have, right? I know some of the tech companies have in-house gymnasiums. So that gives them a reason for you to get up in the morning and make your way to work. Because commute can be an issue, biggest issue. So within your campus, you provide these facilities. Another thing is you create these collaborative spaces, right? Some companies adapt where if you have more than 5 to 7 people collaborating, there is a dedicated budget for you to spend, because some of these guys working from home also may be thinking of a new startup. So generating these new ideas. Of course, it goes without saying daycare facilities is another. When you combine all of this, the biggest element, if you look at it, is how do you create growth mindset for an employee? Because as some of the speakers spoke this morning, it's not just the remuneration that will keep an employee glued to an employer. It's just the whole ecosystem. And these are some of the physical elements. And what we are doing in Colombo is that we are kind of within a 1 kilometer radius. We are providing water sports, for instance. There's underwater diving, horse riding, all of that kind of recreational activities within a 1 kilometer radius is provided.
Oh, fantastic. So, Shantanu, I will add one more question on top of it while you will speak about how you're going to and how you see enhancing employee experience. But what are the current challenges you also see in the environment? Because we are seeing about rise of hybrid working model. So how you see, what are the different challenges?
So I would say, there's been a lot of talk and mistalk about this hybrid workplace. Tech companies in India were promoting hybrid earlier as well. 1 day a week was fairly standard and given. So which basically means, now if you're moving to a 3-day week, it's only that much 1 day kind of a change, right? Which is where everybody is anchoring towards right now. But on top of it, I think the amount of hiring that has happened in the last 3-4 years, companies have outgrown their spaces. Even they have to get to a hybrid of like a 3-day a week kind of a thing. I think the challenge is, if 3 days a week are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? That causes a capacity challenge, right, today, right? Because everybody wants to come in on Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? You have to provide for that much, So I think the challenge on the company side is how do you distribute this to get the efficiency coming out of the hybrid? Because the way the hybrid is panning out now, it is causing a cost disruption and not a cost advantage. So that's one thing that you have to kind of understand, and how do we spread this out? In terms of trying to enhance employee value prop, right? Like we said, right? I think getting people to the workplace today is a lot of effort that companies have to put today, because just of the habit and the mindset that people have, the employees have got into the last 2 through 3 years to get back to the work, right? Some people are doing it through diktat, some people are doing it through coercive measures, some people are doing it through incentivization and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the meaning that the employee seeks from the workplace today has to be fulfilled. And one element of that has changed between what used to be earlier and what is today is the social element, right? People, and I'm talking about the newest generations. I don't want to use the various terms because, as rightly pointed out in the last thing, those are American terms. But the latest generation today strives for meaning, and in part of the meaning, it's a social. They want to come back to they want to come back to the office if it gives a very high social element, meeting friends, interacting, collaborating, and all of that. So first, I think designing of the buildings have to be in a way that they can provide for more efficient layouts, more flexible layouts, so that collaborative spaces can be easily created and repurposed, right? So repurposing is very important if you get the efficiency. Just creating a collaborative space and that not getting used, again, is a drain on cost. Secondly, when you move outside, everything that used to be inside the office, whether it's gym, a food court, a shower area and all of that, now needs to be outside and has to be provided as a part of the larger ecosystem. Layering on top of it the daycare, the creche facility, health and wellness, right? I think it's become extremely, extremely important. Do you have a clinic? Do you have a pharmacy? Do you have an ambulance? Do you have a firefighter on the campus? These have become extremely important, today. And finally, what is the programming that is happening, right? The offices today will become extinct if they think about 9 to 5. The offices will become relevant if they also think about 5 to 9 and maybe even beyond. So I think today, while the verticality of the office will still remain what it used to be, the horizontality of the office needs to be much more public, much more open to outside, much more programmed. So what we are trying to do is, one is we are layering a lot of programming in terms of shows, in terms of events, which employees can participate in, and that's the element of the whole social game that we are speaking about, and digitizing it, right? So nobody needs to know about it only when they come to the office. People will get to know through the app that something is happening in say an eco world, and hence today I should go to the office. So that's the way we are playing this game.
Just to, if I may, just to add also, just striking that right balance between we versus me space.
No, fantastically put up. I can see some runs, if we can pass on the mic. So I will utilize that time while we are passing on the mic to the audience. Quick 30 seconds, if Shantanu, you can reply. So we'll pass on the mic. Every organization, they look towards their bottom line, top line. How and what is that secret sauce currently, hybrid, in-person, physical, whatever model you call about, how they can trim that fat expense from their books, because that is the bigger piece. Any tricks, tips that you want to share? Quick 30 seconds, and then we'll take the question.
So firstly, in the pre-COVID, the occupancy cost as a part of your total stack was about 9 to 10%, right? That has only reduced because you've not taken more space, you've taken more employees. That, I think, today stands about 5 to 6%. And people may call me slightly selfish in making this proclaimment. I don't think you should save here. You should invest here so that you can save at the top, right? And that's where a lot of people are sometimes missing the bus, right? The rise for the entire, the flex office space is happening because they're investing there. People are paying slightly more if you break up the components, paying slightly more moving to a flex office because they're getting much better retention and much lesser headache of managing that, right, than doing this. So I would say I'll turn it around.
Thulci, I know you have a great model, but if you can just briefly talk about how we can reduce the number in the books. Quick 30 seconds.
Yeah, the pace in which the Gen AI is advancing, Bhaskar, I guess we need to almost kind of nullify the distance factor, right? So you need to create virtual situations where a virtual meeting is as good as in-person, face-to-face meetings, right? So some of these companies have made very advanced progression in terms of technology to create that. So I feel that, striking the right balance between remote working and in-person working will give you the optimization of the OpEx cost. Because end of the day, whatever it is for a company, it has to transpire into dollars and cents in terms of a savings, or as Shantanu said, you will invest now for you to get a return later. And that this recipe is not one size fits all. depending on where you are in the trajectory of growth, your company, this will change. But again, there is much OpEx cost either now or in the future that you might be able to get.
I think we can take question, yes.
Yeah, my name is Dr. C.N. Narayan. I'm the Group Director for Sri Krishna Group of Institutions. The question is, we've been talking about work-life balance, and we're also constantly talking about hybrid model, which has been happening in the US. I've seen the houses are becoming offices. As somebody said, office space goes beyond this now to home. So what is an impact, social impact on the people working there? Many Americans especially I've seen saying that hybrid model is not really working. And it also happened in education sector. The students want to come back post-COVID desperately back to college, right? And also we can't have online or blended learning always, right? And how do we really address this issue of social impact, in this kind of scenario?
So, I think it's a valid question. And look, I'll just maybe digress a little bit, but say, if it's not working for institutions, if it's not working for schools, where learning is the primary motive, I think workplace today is a lot more about learning than it used to be. It used to be earlier more about delivery, right? So you compute and you deliver. I think today it is more about collaborate and learn and all of that. So I think in some way, what's happening in US will only pull US down, and what's happening in India, where people are trying to come back to the office or people are being asked to come back to the office, will take the economy forward. But from a social impact standpoint, right, I think nothing has worked in isolation, whether it's an individual or whether it is a group, right? So the more you go towards remote, more isolated you become, right? And it will have multiple things. So the right part is, how can you make the workplace more attractive for people to come back? And something that was spoken earlier is possibly going to be the helping hands in doing that. Companies come up to us a lot more today than they used to do earlier, seeking that I need this support. I want to call my employees back on this date to give them a re-experience of what we have done. How can you support? These requests never came back to us, but today we have our marketing teams and our events teams and our programming teams, already aligned with that. So, if we know on this particular day, this company is driving some high footfall, let's program for it. So I think that's one way of looking at it.
I think our time is, but Shantanu and Thulci both are here. You can have interaction with them, and I think they are going to spend some time here. But before I let you go, Shantanu and Thulci, I have a rapid fire for you. So the rule is, I will ask with a one word, and you have to reply in one word. So I will start with you, Thulci. Work desk. Work desk.
Attractive.
Okay. Shantanu, global team.
Relevant.
Collaboration. Thulci.
Important.
Workplace.
Redefined.
Thank you. It's very interesting. It was very nice talking to you. Thank you very much.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASScom YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.